I never imagined my wedding day would end up being a lesson in humility. But sometimes life has a way of delivering revenge in ways no one expects. My name is Rebecca Chen, and this is the story of how I went from serving champagne at my own wedding to owning the entire luxury hotel empire. I met James Harrison when I was still in my servant days. Back then, I worked as a housekeeper at the opulent Grand Plaza Hotel in Manhattan, juggling multiple jobs as I quietly built my business empire. James was staying there on a business trip, and unlike most guests who saw me as invisible, he actually took the time to speak to me like I was a person. "You're reading market analysis during your break," he remarked one morning as I sat in a staff room, flipping through reports. I laughed softly, tucking the papers away. Most people don't pay attention to what their housekeeper reads. Our casual chats turned into coffee breaks, which turned into dinner dates, which then bloomed into the kind of romances family would later try to erase from their high society narrative. The Harrisons were old money, wealth that flowed as naturally as their social status. James was their golden child, heir to Harrison International Holdings, and according to his mother, Victoria Harrison, he was destined for someone of proper blood. I still remember my first encounter with them at their sprawling Hampton estate. Victoria took one glance at my simple dress, which I'd spent hours selecting, and sneered at James. "Darling, when you said you were seeing someone from the hotel, I assumed you meant a guest." James squeezed my hand reassuringly. "Mom, Becca is brilliant. She's building her own." "Yes, yes," Victoria waved him off dismissively. "Everyone seems to be building something these days. Tell me, Rebecca, do you even have a college degree?" "I have an MBA from." "From where, dear?" "Trump University?" She scoffed, laughing at her own wit. I took a deep breath. "From Columbia. Full scholarship." Her smile faltered for a second, but then she recovered with a sneer. "Scholarship, you say? So you're some kind of charity case?" What Victoria Harrison didn't know, and what none of them knew, was that while I was working as a housekeeper, I was quietly building an empire. Every paycheck, every tip, went straight into my business. I'd bought a struggling bed and breakfast upstate, using money I'd saved through hard work. Within a year, it became profitable. Then I bought another, and another. By the time James proposed, I owned a growing chain of boutique hotels. But I kept it a secret, continuing to work in every hotel position imaginable, from housekeeping to the front desk, to kitchen staff. Every job taught me something vital about the industry. But to the Harrisons, I was just a maid who somehow tricked their precious son into marrying me. When James proposed, I knew Victoria would resist. What I didn't expect was her compromise. "If you insist on this alliance," she said one evening over dinner, "we'll host the wedding at the Grand Plaza." But her smile grew icy. "As a reminder of your place, Rebecca, you will work during the reception. Just like old times." James shot up from the table, outraged. "Mom, that's absurd. You can't." I interrupted him, a plan forming in my mind. "Actually, I accept." Everyone around the table fell silent in shock. "But," I added calmly, "I have one condition. I choose the date and time." Victoria raised an eyebrow. "Oh, beggars can't be choosers, darling. But fine, pick your date. It won't matter to me." What she didn't know was that I'd been in the final stages of purchasing the Grand Plaza Hotel Group for months. The timing would be everything. The wedding planning proceeded in Victoria's vision, with 500 of New York's elite on the guest list and barely any involvement from me beyond being told what drinks to serve. James tried to fight it, but I assured him I had everything under control. "Trust me," I whispered, planting a kiss on his lips. "Your mother is about to learn a very expensive lesson about judging people." The night before the wedding, I signed the final papers. The Grand Plaza Hotel Group, including its 30 luxury properties, was now mine. It was a monumental addition to my growing portfolio, which now boasted over 50 properties worth nearly $1 billion. But still, I entered my own wedding through the service entrance, as Victoria insisted. Her smug expression when she saw me in the housekeeper's uniform made it all worth it. "Perfect," she said, adjusting my bow tied as though I were her servant. "Remember, when serving the head table, address me as Mrs. Harrison." I smiled sweetly. "Of course, Mrs. Harrison. Will your friend, Margaret Wellington, be attending?" Victoria preened, pleased with my deference. Naturally, the Wellingtons never miss a Harrison event. "How wonderful," I said softly. I've been meaning to discuss their suite's renewal lease with them. Victoria froze, her gaze sharp. What did you say? But I was already walking away, champagne tray perfectly balanced in my hands. The ceremony unfolded exactly as planned, though I had to change quickly between the vows and the reception. Victoria made sure everyone knew about my humble role as a server at my own wedding reception. It's important to stay humble, I overheard her telling her friends. Some people need reminding of their place in the world. As I approached with another round of champagne, I checked my watch. Right on cue, Thomas Wright, the regional manager of the Grand Plaza, entered the reception hall. The real ceremony was about to begin. Thomas looked bewildered as he saw me in the server's uniform. But his confusion quickly turned to panic as he recognized who I was. Before he could approach, Victoria intercepted him. Thomas, I wasn't expecting you. Is everything all right with the venue? Her voice dripped with condescension, as though speaking to a servant. I smiled to myself, the evening about to take a dramatic turn. Actually, Mrs. Harrison, I'm here to meet with a new owner. There seems to be some confusion because I was told. New owner? Victoria laughed, as if I had told her a ridiculous joke. Don't be absurd. I had lunch with George Morton just last week. If he was selling the Grand Plaza Group, he would have told me. I calmly set down my champagne tray, my gaze never leaving her. Actually, Mrs. Harrison, George Morton sold the hotel group 2 days ago. I glanced at my watch again, knowing the timing was perfect. As of today, I'm the new owner. Victoria's face shifted from smug confidence to outright disbelief. What are you talking about? Perhaps we should make the announcement now, I said, turning to Thomas, who nodded vigorously. I walked confidently to the small stage where the band was playing. The chatter and clinking glasses fell to silence as I picked up the microphone. First, I want to thank everyone for coming to my wedding. I smiled at James, whose eyes were shining with amusement. He knew some of my business successes, but even he had no idea the full extent of my plans. And I would like to personally thank my dear mother-in-law, Victoria Harrison, for insisting I serve as a server at my own wedding. It's given me the perfect opportunity for a little announcement. Victoria started to push through the crowd, her movements sharp and hurried, but James's father, Robert, held her back, his interest suddenly piqued. Many of you know me as the housekeeper who caught the eye of James Harrison. What you didn't know was that while I was cleaning rooms here at the Grand Plaza, I was also building my own hotel empire. I paused, letting the whispers ripple through the room. As of 2 days ago, I acquired the Grand Plaza Hotel Group, including its 30 properties, and I've just added them to my existing portfolio of 23 boutique hotels. The silence in the room was deafening. I caught Margaret Wellington's champagne glass midway to her lips, frozen in shock. Some glasses did shatter, and others tilted precariously in stunned hands. I turned toward Victoria, her face a ghostly shade of pale. So, Mrs. Harrison, I said with a cool smile, I believe you were saying something about knowing one's place in the world. Several glasses shattered with the force of dropped hands. Victoria swayed, supported only by her husband, her words barely coherent. That's impossible, she stammered. You're lying. You're just a maid. I finished her sentence, a soft smile curling my lips. Would you like to see the paperwork? Thomas has all the official documents right here. It includes, incidentally, the lease agreements for several suites held by people in this room. I paused. I believe your suite renewal is due next month, Mrs. Harrison. At that moment, James was already heading to the stage, grinning like a child with a secret. He joined me, grabbing the microphone from my hand with pride. I knew you were successful, but you're incredible. Guess I'm married beneath my station, darling, I teased, winking at him. Victoria found her voice, or at least her desperation. This is preposterous. Robert, she hissed, turning to her husband, do something about this. Robert Harrison, however, had already started toward the stage, his gaze sharp and calculating. As the founder of Harrison International Holdings, he understood the real game of power. He knew an opportunity when he saw one. Rebecca, he said, extending his hand. I think it's time for a proper business discussion. Perhaps we should talk about merging our interests. Traitor, Victoria shrieked, but her protests were already drowned out by the buzz of excited whispers. No one was listening to her anymore. I spent the rest of the evening receiving business cards and meeting requests from people who had barely glanced at me earlier in the evening. The Wellingtons were particularly eager to discuss their lease renewals. Victoria, of course, left early, claiming a headache. On her way out, she had to pass by the portrait that Thomas had rushed to hang in the hotel lobby, a new one of me, right next to the other Grand Plaza Hotel Group CEOs. The next morning, I arrived at my new office, situated in the executive suite of the Grand Plaza, the same floor I had once cleaned as a housekeeper. On my desk was a handwritten note from James. Checkmate, Mrs. CEO. I framed my old housekeeping uniform in a glass case and placed it prominently in my office. It reminds me that every job, no matter how humble, has value. True worth isn't defined by what you do, but how you do it. And sometimes the most satisfying revenge is not about seeking payback. It's about rising so far above your critics that they become irrelevant. Victoria hasn't spoken to me directly since, but I've heard whispers that she's telling her friends she always saw potential in me. As for the Wellingtons, I did renew their suite lease, at the standard rate, of course. No family discount for them. After all, it's important to stay humble and know your place in the world. James and I moved into the penthouse suite at the Grand Plaza, the same one I had once cleaned. Every morning, I make our bed myself. The staff is confused, but I like the reminder of where I started. Last week, I implemented a new policy at all of my hotels. Every executive must spend 1 week per year working in housekeeping. Victoria nearly fainted when she saw her precious country club friends' children cleaning rooms during their summer internships. It builds character, I told her sweetly at the last family dinner. Don't you agree, Mrs. Harrison? She just pursed her lips and looked away. But Robert winked at me from across the table. He's been pushing to merge our companies, but I'm in no rush. Some things, like respect, need to be earned. As for me, I still make a point of stopping to chat with the housekeeping staff during hotel inspections. After all, you never know which one of them might own the place someday. They say success is the best revenge, but I've learned that it's not really about revenge. It's about proving that worth isn't determined by others' perceptions. Sometimes, the person serving your champagne just might own the whole damn hotel. And Victoria, well, she finally got her wish. Her son married someone from her social circle, someone who is now one of the largest hotel property owners in the country. Funny how life works out.